Hey everybody, welcome to what I'm calling, and Mike is calling, the season premiere tier list, where we're going to go over our favorite season premieres from seasons 1 through 14 in preparation for Bob's Burgers season 15 premiere, which is going to be on the 29th of September. So let's go ahead and start this one off with our very first one, Human Flesh, season 1, episode 1, directed by Anthony Chun and written by the one and only Lauren Bouchard and Jim Dotrieve. So this episode basically just is all about meeting the Belchers, getting to see what Bob's Burgers looks like, learning a little bit about the background story of the Belchers, and that Louisa started a rumor with show and tell that burgers are made with human flesh from the crematorium next door, run by our lovely Mort, the mortician. As it comes to go, Hugo shuts it down, and it's big weekend for the burger restaurant. And because of that, there's all these issues that they may close or may not make any money and may have to shut down. This is what really starts Bob's Burgers off and gets things going. This is an episode I would introduce people to. Maybe not like favorite episode, like top 10 episode, but it is definitely in the realm of top 25s. I would definitely give this one a medium well. Yes, as Mike pointed out in his, some of the jokes did not age well and would not be seen on Bob's Burgers today, but some people claim that they like seasons 1 through 5 because of its more edgy content. But I think we could all kind of maybe see it as, with that leaving, we got better content and quality of writing, where now we have more meaningful, kind of emotional powered episodes mixed in with good jokes and good things like that. Again, this is more about the toothpick comment and the burger of the day, if you're not sure what we're talking about. All right, season 2's premiere, The Belchies, which is a total take on the Goonies. This one is written by John Schroeder, Big John, and also this one is going to be directed by Buchan and Kyung Lee Lin. So this episode, I mean, we even got Cyndi Lauper doing the ending credits for this one, which was a huge get for the show in general, and they were surprised that she said yes, but she did, and we got Taffy Butt out of that, which is an awesome vibe. The episode is all about the Taffy Factory, Caffey's Taffy, closing and being torn down. Teddy seems to know the guy who also is going to be tearing down the factory. He says that he's going to be a 3-bean salad, bring your own bean party, and that's the reference that lets you know he knows Teddy. The episode centralizes around Teddy telling a story that his uncle told him, and now he's telling the Belcher kids about a treasure being left in the Taffy Factory basement in the tunnels. It used to be really big during the Prohibition period, where the G-men would look for it and could never find it. The map is of a butt, and the kids are like, what better way to draw a map or hide treasure than in a butt? So they go and look for it. And they bring Jimmy Jr., which you're one of our first times meeting him. We get Zeke, and we get Andy and Ollie as well. And they're along for the ride. And this is a great episode full of a ton of great jokes, solid humor, good writing, and overall one of my favorite episodes to like refer people to. But when I'm comparing it to other season premieres, I have it at a medium rare. It's good, and I like it. It's just, compared to the other ones, it's in the middle of the road. And remember, guys, with these ratings, medium rare is good. It's a solid burger. All right, season 3, the Eary Rider. Take on the Easy Rider. So this episode, directed by Anthony Chun and written by Dan Fievel and Rich Rinaldi, which you're going to hear quite a few times. They're one of the more prominent writers on the shows, at least for the premieres. This episode centers around Louise getting her ears stolen by the bully Logan, which we're finally going to get to meet, who's voiced by... man, why is it escaping me? We've had him on the show. I feel so bad. But he does Bananas as well with Kristen Shaw, and that's where we get him. And during the interview, he was able to tell us that he got the part because of Kristen, and she said that he'd be a perfect bully and complement her character well, which they do great. This is our first introduction to Logan, who likes her ears because it gives him what he calls powers. It makes him more popular with girls. It makes him seem funnier. He got better SAT scores because of it. He doesn't want to give it back. So when Louise threatens to tattle and go to his parents, he says that he threw them away. which then leads to the whole scene with her looking in the dump for it, which I don't know, they never let a kid in the dump, but they did. And they tell her that they've been incinerated. And that's where we get the iconic image of Louise in the fire going, revenge. And that's when she calls the one-eyed snakes, biker gang, into basically settling a score with Logan and threatening to cut off his ears for her ears. She's given the ears back by Logan. He never got rid of them. He just kept them. She gets her ears back, and when the Belchers and the biker gang is celebrating at the restaurant, we get the parents come in, and we get our conflict between the bikers and parents due to them ripping Critter's jacket. And then, I mean, it's just fun. Mudflap's born. It's a good episode, and all in all, good message. No one's ears were lost. Everything turned out okay. This episode for me is a medium well. Solid season premiere. Season 4, we have A River Runs Through Bob. So this season premiere is written by Dan Feibel again and Rich Rinaldi. This one's directed by Jennifer Coyle, who went on to do other things like Harley Quinn. And great work, and from what people have told us on the show, fun to work with. So someday maybe Wharfers will get her on. So River Runs Through Bob, the family decides to go camping. And this is our first glance into seeing that Bob Belcher believes he's an outdoorsman and that he can do all the things because he's kind of into the idea, but not really sure how to do it. So he gets his pocket knife, camp master, and he thinks he's going to do everything and catch a fish and make a trout, which he can't cook a trout, it seems. At least not done completely well, because he does get food poisoning in the process. Bob brings no water. He brings no food. So the Belchers and Linda decide to befriend their camp buddies next door, which happen to be called leaders, and are basically trying to, doomsday preppers, I guess is a better way to put it. They have literature for them to read. During the night, Bob and Linda decide that they're going to go hot springing, but it's really just more of a lukewarm spring. And it gives away as they're in there, and they end up going down river, away from the kids. So they must trek back, try to find the kids, and get back to the campsite to go home. During this process, though, the kids notice that something happened and notice that the hot spring is no longer there, and know that their parents have been swept away. So they get on the inner tubes that they borrow from the preppers and look for their parents. Bob and Linda go in the wrong direction quite a few times. Bob says that he's going to get eaten by a squirrel group, and this is how he goes. Linda eats ants. It's a great episode. Bob finally comes to terms that he's not doing well physically, and that he has had horrible indigestion problems. When the Belchers get back to the campsite, the kids are not there, but the preppers are there and said they want them to be initiated, and they're ready to be initiated into their group. And that is where Tina gets her badge for throwing honeybees into the camper, which helps save the Belchers. This episode is a lot of fun, and I think kind of sets the tone for where the show's going to go from season 4. I feel like they really found their footing in 3, and 4 really is allowing them to kind of develop more characters and have more fun. So I give A River Runs Through Bob my first medium, which is the top, the best, the tip top. So season 5, which a lot of people claim is the best season, it's debatable. We'll see. Maybe that's the next tier list for us to do. So we get Work Hard or Die Trying Girl, which is written by Nora Smith, which went on to write the movie and many amazing episodes after that, including Fight Before Christmas and others. So let's jump into this episode. This is a fun little take on Gene wanting to do a play and wanting to do his Die Hard the musical, so that which a lot of fans, including myself, would love to see a full episode just of it. Maybe it's a online only thing, and maybe it's just done in segments. Maybe Simon Chong, if you're listening and have some time, which you probably don't, this would be great. But yes, directed again by Jennifer Coyle, who just did the season 4 one as well. This episode is about Jean wanting to do that, but being derailed by Courtney Wheeler, who's decided that, her dad decided that she wants to do Working Girl. And because her dad says that he can get Carly Simon to be there, LeBon's gives her the role and gives her the idea to go ahead and do the play. So Jean will not get to do his. But Louise, hearing how distraught Jean is, decides why not do one the same night just to mess with it and do it in the boiler room and make it more of like a one night only event. And she, of course, charges tickets. So it becomes, are you seeing Working Girl or are you seeing Die Hard the musical? Jean's a one-man show. As the episode continues and moves forward, we do get some amazing song bites like Nakatomi Tower. We get like Holly Gennaro. We get a bunch of great, amazing songs, which I really wish were full versions, but it's okay. The episode ends with them finding out that Jean is doing his rogue play downstairs, and we start the episode in Mr. Fran's office, and that's where the episode will pick off and kind of leave, is we're there, and they decide that if there's not going to be any play at all, at least the two of them can do a play together. So they go ahead and they do Work Hard or Die Trying Girl, where they mix both plays together. And it's amazing. It's awesome. This episode for me is another solid episode. So it gets a medium because it's what it deserves. But definitely wish we had a full episode of just that whole play. Season 6 is Sliding Bobs. This one is going to be written by Craig Thompson and directed by Don McKinnon. And for this episode, we get our triptych, first season premiere triptych, where we get 3 versions of how Bob and Linda met. We know that they met in a bar where Linda snagged Bob's chin. Or sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's up here with the mustache. She clipped him with her engagement ring, and they got to know each other that way. What ends up happening, though, is that each character of the kids takes it in a different direction. Jean brings it into a RoboCop situation. Then we have Louise, who takes it in a direction where we get Hugo's hot dogs, which is like the whole thing goes south. Actually, that's where Tina ends up going, how bad it ends up happening. But it leads to a whole bunch of things about what happened if Bob didn't have his mustache. We all have Jean, who says that he becomes like this woolly-haired beast because he makes a wish at one of those Zoltar machines. And it leads to this awesome moment where Tina has her like, oh, everything goes bad, it goes south. They never meet. It's called Fate, and it's great. This, for me, it's a good triptych. It's fun, but it's just okay. So for me, I don't usually refer people to watch this one as one of the get them into the show. So I have it at a medium rare. It's still good. It's still fun. It's just not one of my favorite premieres. The next one is this one, solid. Fluise. Right off the bat, this was a musical episode up front. Lorne said it would be when he was talking about it on Twitter and on Instagram. This is one of those episodes that they really wanted to test the waters on. Could we do a very song-focused episode? So this one is going to be written by Nora Smith again, and Tyree Dillhay went ahead and directed this one. He went on to direct a bunch of great stuff and is still working and doing a lot of amazing things with animation. But Bob's lucky enough to have him for a while. So Fluise, you can tell in this episode too, animation is upped. It seems better. It seems more tight. It seems like there's shadowing. There's more stuff going on. There's more dancing numbers and more movement. And this is where Louise gets a flu and gets sick, but has a fever dream where she's sucked into her rug and she gets to meet all of her friends like Coochie Kopi and all of them, and goes on this journey about going to a fortress to protect herself from her emotions, essentially because her parents accidentally dropped Coochie Kopi in the toilet, and then they tried to fix it by putting it in the dryer with rice, but it melted, and then Teddy tried to come and fix it with a heat gun, and that's how we get back Coochie Kopi, which is great. But Louise says that she can't forgive her parents for what they've done. But through the dream process and through talking to Coochie Kopi and bad Coochie Kopi, realizes that she has to forgive and move on. It's not healthy to stay stuck in that, and it keeps her away from who she needs, which is her support system, which is her family and her sister and brother. So she decides to forgive them. Bob, of course, gets another Coochie Kopi, and it all works out really well. And this episode for me is another medium because it's solid. It's an amazing episode. I definitely refer people to watch this one, especially if they're starting to get into the show. Season 8 This one is controversial because I watched Mike's and I know where he put it. And if you've watched us a couple times, we definitely debate this a lot. And a lot of times you guys have jumped in and said it too. Either you love it or you hate it. And this is one of those episodes that you either do love it or you hate it. 63 artists sent in artwork. A lot of people that we know sent in artwork for this. And it got put into the show for just a split second. And a lot of people say they get thrown off by it because it switches every time there's a transition. Some people say it makes them a little nauseous. It makes them a little sick. I, as an art person, love it. I think it's amazing that a show is willing to do this, learn all these different styles, including like claymation, felt, all these different things, and make this happen. For the directors on this, which was Mauricio Pardo and Ian Hamilton, and written by Lizzie and Wendy, this was an undertaking for those directors to put together and those animators. So kudos to them for putting this out there and making it work. And the story's top notch. A lot of people said they wish the episode was just basically done traditionally, and a lot of people have that Mandela effect where they said it did happen and they have seen it and it never existed, guys. But for me, this is a solid, amazing plot episode of Felix playing hide and seek with Calvin, just because they do it every year and they try to see how long they can go without being caught. The kids want a dog. They said they're going to get the money from Felix if he wins to get that. It's just awesome. For me, this episode, as much as Mike is going to hate this, is medium well. And he can fight me later about it, which I'm sure he will. All right, we get into season 9 now, which is just one of the boys for now. Boo Boo is out. And now we're looking for another boys for now. This is another music-centric episode, and this is, I'm sure Mike loves this one because his boy Randall's is all over this one, and so is Josh Gad. This episode is loaded with songs, tons of 80s montages with like going back to like classic movies. It is a solid episode, and it is so well done. Again, we had Ian Hamilton stepping up to the plate directing this one and Wendy and Lizzie writing this one. Wendy and Lizzie, literally, this is going to be the second of 3 that they've written, 4 in total. So this episode for me is just awesome. And final reveal, we get Boo Boo back. But just seeing all of the stuff that happens, this episode is one of my favorites. This one is going to be another medium for me. A string of these. Season 10, The Ring, But Not Scary, directed by our buddy Mario Deanna and written again by Wendy and Lizzie. This episode is a lot of fun and very cute, very sweet. Of course, should the kids just stay out of their room? Yes, they should stay out of the room, but they don't. And they go to the secret hiding place where they think all their like Christmas gifts and stuff are hidden, and they find that Bob has bought an engagement ring for Linda, and Teddy's just like, do you have something for her? And he's like, yeah, I did. I bought her a ring. And he's so excited to give it to her. He's so amped. And he knows when it's not where it's supposed to be who took it. And he literally just corners the kids. And he's like, what did you do? He knows. They lost it at Ready, Set, Go. And it was an accident, but honestly, Gene should have never put it on. It should never have happened. We do get Nat coming in to try to save the day with her scuba group, the Puff Divers. And they go looking all over Ready, Set, Go to try to find this ring to help Bob have his awesome day with Linda. We do get the side plot, too, of Linda trying to put eye drops in Gail's eyes because she has pink eye. And it's fun. It definitely is fun to watch. This episode, for me, is amazing. I do love that you find out where the ring is at the end of the episode. It never really left. It's always at Bob's Burgers. I do love that they also referenced it in another episode, that it's still there. So for me, this is a medium well. Now we're going to jump into Dream a Little Bob of Bob, season 11, directed by our buddy Simon Chong and written by Dan Feibel. This one is a fever dream one, just like the Fluiz episode, but now Bob, who threw out his back as he's trying to clean his car, looking for the safe key because he needs Tina, I believe, needs her social security card to apply for something. And Bob says he knows where it is. He's got to find the key. It's just somewhere else. And we find out that Bob is not the most organized person. If you haven't found out yet by season 11, you may have missed it. But Bob is not well organized. He is very forgetful. So in this sense, it kind of shows it more. But he does face it. He finds his tape, he finds his rubber band ball. He realizes that he needs to kind of work on this and get better, and that he has qualities and skills, and he needs to kind of use them more frequently to help him. This one I gave a medium rare. It's a great episode. Is it one of my favorites? It's in there. Season 12, we get Manic Pixie Crap Show. This is Ryan Matos, who directed this one, and Nora Smith wrote it. It's basically a very Louise and Millie-centric episode where Millie wants all these wands and things from the Pixie group, which is a very kind of kids group, and Louise thinks she's too old for it. But Millie offers to give her a Barobu card with a Slug Fugitive, so she decides she's going to do the job for her and get as many of these wands and things as she can. It leads to a lot of just kind of like all over the place fun and hilarity. There's a lot of good one-liners from Gene in this episode, solid one-liners. They're playing Frisbee with no Frisbee with Tina. This episode for me, though, is one of the ones I would probably label it more of a rare. It didn't really hit for me well. Maybe if I watch it again, it'll change it a little bit. I've watched it a couple times, and I do find each time I kind of get something new from it, but it's still kind of there for me. Season 13, To Bob or Not to Bob. This is directed by Chris Song, and again, written by Wendy and Lizzie. For me, this one, let's go through it. To Bob or Not to Bob is a take on a play on basically Hamlet, and Mr. Fischoeder wants to know where Felix has hidden his dad's trophy for Best Businessman on the Wharf. He's been hiding it for years, and he wants to find out where it is, so he thinks if he guilts him by doing this play, he can have it, and as a reward for doing the play, the Belchers can have the store next door to extend their restaurant. And Bob's not sure if he wants to expand, and Linda doesn't know if she really wants to either. They're kind of conflicted. They both say they do, but then they kind of don't. It's a whole reveal where they kind of have to come to terms with that. I have this episode, for me, it's more of a medium rare for me. It's middle of the road. It's fine, but I'd say it's teetering between this and rare, but I have it at medium rare for now. And lastly, we have our most recent season premiere, which is season 14, which is Fight at the Not Okay Choral, which is a Western themed, which I love. This is a definite animation jump, probably because it's directed by Bernard Derriman, who helped work on the movie and is the supervising director and character design person for the show for years, and written by Nora Smith. So again, the story is solid. This episode for me is a fun take on just wanting to have your kids do chores and do what they need to do as being part of the family. And I think the Belchers try their best. Linda kind of loses it a little bit with her control and needing to be right. And she has a good message, but I think it's another time where Louise and Linda collide because they're two very much opinionated, strong forces of personality. And when they come together, they either mesh really well or they kind of fight each other in combat. This is one of those combat ones. And it does get to a point where finally they do get to a place where they can compromise and understand each other. And it works out really well. And it's very sweet that they're able to do it. So for this episode, just from the animation jumps, Pupperoni, the pony, I have it at medium well, almost a medium. So there you have it, guys. This is my tier list for all of the premieres, Bob's Burgers from seasons 1 to 14. I hope you enjoy it. What did you guys have? Let us know in the comment section what you think is right and wrong. And as always, you can always debate us. And keep checking into YouTube and from North of Wharf for all new stuff, Bob's Burgers, Great North, and beyond. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.